I say to the ancestors. I had to get on here tonight because when I pulled into my house tonight, I had one of them CoinTelPros, and as y'all been watching me, and y'all see they banned and snatched my page down, the University of Conscious Minds, Sector 500. You feel me? That's my other name. So you see how they been following me. You see how they been on my line. I done showed y'all numerous and numerous of videos of them following me. And what our brothers and sisters is pushing is a movement for peace and harmony, for justice, for freedom. We may look a little rough around the edges, but believe me that we smart and highly sophisticated. So these certain this certain group of individuals want to target young gods like us that speak truth, that speak healing, that speak righteousness. And it's a shame because we at a time right now where the energy have shifted, and it's like everything that's evil is full throttle against us. Everything that's not on high vibration is trying to bring the frequency down. But people claim that they want a better world and they want peace. People claim that they want harmony for the world, but steady causing chaos and not the right chaos, but the wrong chaos. And it's like, I feel like Malcolm X, I feel like Martin Luther King, I feel like a lot of brothers that been under attack in so many ways. It's just ridiculous. And it's like, I don't know how long that my mission may be, but best believe me, my mission won't be complete until I see this change happen. And I'm pretty sure that my ancestors and the Most High, Mother Nature, the universe, gonna see me through. So, CoinTelPro is real. My stepfather used to be a Black Panther with Harry P. Newton, best friend and colleague. They went to UC Berkeley and studied political science together. My father took 2 bullets from the Oakland PD before, so the DNA run deep. But at the same time, peace, love, and light and healing is what we pushing. They want to label us crazy. They want to label us gangsters and and cult members and going against their policies. But if we speak in God and we going by God policy on what's real, and we ain't hurt nobody. We ain't hurt nobody. You know what I mean? We only hurting ourselves. And they know that. Because it's all designed to do that. So I say that to say, my brothers and sisters been under attack a long time. I might look young, but I'm 44 years old. I'll be 44 next month. I just got out of a coma that they tried to. I just fell at work and I'm supposed to be paralyzed and I'm still walking. I lost so many people in my life, it's just ridiculous. When I came awoke out that coma, my life been changed ever since. It's not been the same. I woke up first out that coma. I was writing letters in the coma, talking to my people in the coma. And that was just recently. But we got to identify who the real enemy is. We got to start observing our surroundings. Because I tell you, it's like They Live movie. For real. It's like the Truman Show. Y'all look at this video, man. And I'm going to show y'all how the FBI targeted and target black activists fighting for equality, which will never be equal. We as one. Know thyself. Decades ago, the FBI targeted black activists, Black Panthers, who were fighting for equality. Now this a sad chapter of history is repeating itself. I'm gonna turn the camera to it so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Fuck. Oh yeah, we finna break it down today. See, this why they following me. A 2017 report identified black identified extremists as a threat to law enforcement. Critics say this report is eerily similar to the FBI counterintelligence program, aka CoinTelPro, which was established in the 50s by J. Edgar Hoover to specifically target African Americans who are fighting for justice and equality, including Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and many members of the Black Panther Party. So when I tell y'all how they be following me, like I know they on here watching now, but I don't give a fuck. You feel me? These folks, decades ago, the FBI targeted black activists who were fighting for equity. Now this is sad chapter of history is repeating itself. And you wonder why? Because we all waking up to this shit. And they want to stop us in any kind of way. So when I say they be on my line, they be on my line. Period. Y'all done seen them on my line. So I told y'all how they just pulled up on me when I just pulled in the house. You feel me? How they had the little army. Y'all mean the army stickers all on the back. It's all tinted out. Come on now, quit playing with me. I ran him up out of here so quick. With my tongue piece. Tongue lashed that fool. Now listen to this.
The report identified black identity extremists as a threat to law enforcement. Critics say the report is eerily similar to the FBI's 20th century counterintelligence program.
Run that back.
The report identified black identity extremists as a threat to law enforcement. Critics say the report is eerily similar to the FBI's 20th century counterintelligence program.
CoinTelPro was an FBI operation established in the 50s by J. Edgar Hoover to target African Americans who were fighting for justice and equality. He targeted Dr. King, he targeted Malcolm X, and over 80% of the targets of CoinTelPro were members of the Black Panther Party.
At the height of CoinTelPro, activists and community organizers were targeted. These include current Congressional Black Caucus members like John Lewis, Bobby Rush, Emmanuel Cleaver, and Barbara Lee.
The church committee in the mid-70s held hearings and determined that many of the actions and activities of CoinTelPro were really unconstitutional.
What you described is a series of illegal actions intended squarely to deny First Amendment rights to some Americans. How shall we ensure that it never happen again?
One of the similarities that I see are that it's based on race. You know, CoinTelPro definitely targeted African Americans. Black identity extremists, which Attorney General Jeff Sessions has put out, targets African Americans. When it was brought to our attention, we immediately contacted the FBI director and had a very forthright meeting. I specifically asked him, how do they identify black identity extremists? Who are they? And there was no answer to that. We still don't know who's a black identity extremist.
A lot of activists around the country are very concerned that we're getting ready to repeat a very sad chapter of our history, where people who are rightfully protesting what they consider to be an injustice in their community, which is their relationship with police officers, are now being targeted and labeled as extremists and are going through periods of surveillance and harassment.
As a community worker, I attended many Black Panther Party functions. I was part of the breakfast program. We registered many people, the African American community and others, to vote. Well, the FBI during CoinTelPro would try to turn members of the Black Panther Party against each other. Agent provocateurs were placed within the party to try to sow dissent.
I was the coordinator of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party. In December 4th, 1969, Fred Hampton and Mark Clark, two members of the Black Panther Party, were murdered. And they put an informant, William O'Neill, planted him inside the Panther Party.
We can mourn today, but if we understood Fred, and we are dedicated that his life wasn't given in vain.
The National Director of the FBI said that the Black Panther Party was the #1 threat to national security of this nation. And they created the condition for law enforcement agents all across this nation to go after Panthers. That program that they did, in some sense, we ought to be thankful for, because that put in writing for everybody to see we're still in the eyes of so many, nothing but a bunch of. Was I surprised? No. I fully expected it to happen. Now the question is, how do we deal with it?
People need to get to their members of Congress and get them a copy of this report and hold their members of Congress accountable. In this day and time, they could really stop and halt the progressive movements that are taking place in the country. And I think with Black Lives Matter, with the Dreamers, with all of our millennials and what they're doing, they deserve to be out there and to protest and to engage in petitioning their government to right the wrongs of the past. Those of us who've been around, who saw CoinTelPro, really know the risks and the dangers. And so I hope that people really believe us that this happened, because this is CoinTelPro 2.0.
If you're always...
There it is. So like I was saying, peace, love, and light, that these folks targeted and target people like me and people like Rashad Jamal and people like Khalil and people like ISIS and people like Professor Griffin, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King. It's a whole line of lists. On down old dirty bastards and Tupacs and everybody else. All CoinTelPro. How you think that shit went down? You feel me? How you think it went down? So these FBI agents, they put together shit like this. You feel me? They put together CoinTelPro to come get a black brother that's speaking righteousness, that's speaking harmony for the world, that's trying to save humanity, that's speaking the words and the vibration and the frequency of Yahweh, that's trying to heal his people. You feel me? This what they do. This what they do. So they target us. So therefore, when they target us like that, they try to block us in. You know what I'm talking about?
Numbers move,
where it ain't nothing but real talk.
Like
it ain't nothing but reality what we going through.
FBI is a government agency supposedly intended to protect American civilians from the worst criminals imaginable, from domestic terrorists to serial killers. But who do you run to when the FBI wants you dead? It may seem like the high-concept premise of the latest Jason Bourne movie, but this was actually the terrifying reality faced by a number of political leaders and public figures as a result of CoinTelPro, the FBI's clandestine series of projects intended to bring American activism to its knees. But what was CoinTelPro really? When did it happen? Who were its targets? And what terrifying illegal methods were employed under its purview? There's only one way to find out. But be warned, by the time this video is over, the FBI won't seem like the brave crime stoppers the movies often paint them as. Under CoinTelPro, which stands for Counterintelligence Program, they were responsible for everything from psychological warfare to cold-blooded murder, all committed against mostly non-violent individuals whose greatest crime was questioning the system. Just how far the system will go to silence these questions will alarm and terrify you. And at the heart of it all was FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, who opened a nightmarish Pandora's box of government overreach and illegal domestic espionage. The year is 1956, and the Red Scare is in full swing. You don't need to be an expert in American political history to know that mid-1950s America was terrified of communism. The threat of the bomb loomed large over American psyches, and Soviet spies and sleeper agents seemed to lurk in every shadow. Russia and the West were fighting a culture war, and the U.S. was scared it was losing. When someone is afraid and backed into a corner, there's almost nothing they won't do to protect themselves, whether the initial fear is justified or not. The U.S. needed bold strategies to fight the perceived communist threat growing within their own borders, and J. Edgar Hoover was on the case. He gave his underlings a sweeping directive to expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, or otherwise neutralize any political groups deemed too submersive for the FBI's liking. Hoover had the tacit permission of President Eisenhower and soon after President Kennedy, and Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy personally signed off on a number of covert projects under the CoinTelPro banner. Of course, while every sinister government project requires some enabling bureaucrats to sign all the permission slips, there always needs to be some triggermen willing to get their hands dirty and get the dastardly job done. In this case, we have William C. Sullivan, director of the FBI's Domestic Intelligence Operations. Sullivan's first target was the Communist Party of America, who, on name alone, were obviously no friends of the Cold War FBI. Some of the techniques used by the FBI to destroy the Communist Party from the inside, including having agents sending threatening anonymous phone calls, having the IRS constantly audit them, and sending in forged documents to sow dissent among the party's ranks. You'll come to notice that this is a running theme among the CoinTelPro projects, using psychological warfare tactics to turn groups against each other and alienate their members. To this end, literally nothing was off the table. FBI agents infiltrating meetings and posing as members to cause conflict, intelligence gathering for blackmail and extortion, and even spreading rumors to increase the tension. Though compared to just how horrific and violent their methods would later become, some blackmail and rumor spreading is pretty quaint. While the Communist Party was a perfect training ground for refining their domestic espionage techniques, the activities that would make CoinTelPro infamous were perpetrated against civil rights groups, starting in the late 50s and continuing through the 60s. Dr. T.R.M. Howard, a prominent black surgeon, entrepreneur, and civil rights leader, was critical of the FBI's inaction on a number of infamous hate crimes, including the murders of Emmett Till and George Washington Lee. This prompted Hoover to turn the dangerous attentions of Sullivan and his FBI cronies to black civil rights groups, starting with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, on the grounds that they were supposedly hotbeds of subversive communist activity. The Southern Christian Leadership Conference was just the tip of the iceberg, though. During their 15-year heyday, CoinTelPro would infiltrate and attack the Black Panther Party, anti-Vietnam War organizers, feminist groups, environmentalist and animal rights groups, the Nation of Islam, the Young Lords Puerto Rico Independence Group, and the American Indian Movement. In their very minor defense, they also did take on the Ku Klux Klan, but when you need to compare yourself to the Klan to have moral high ground, you're not doing well. Perhaps their most infamous victims were two of the most well-known civil rights leaders in American history, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. It all gets a whole lot worse from here. In 1963, Dr. King gave his iconic I Have a Dream speech during the March on Washington, while generations of people across the world were touched and inspired by this incredible piece of history. The FBI were terrified. Dr. King was dreaming too big for their liking, and they wanted to put him in his place, that place being 6 feet below the ground. Hoover ordered Sullivan to turn his attention to discrediting and destroying King and the movement he'd come to represent. Sullivan subsequently released a horrifically racist statement. In the light of King's powerful demagogic speech, we must mark him now, if we've not done so before, as the most dangerous Negro of the future in this nation from the standpoint of communism, the Negro and national security. The espionage began. King's home and hotel rooms were bugged, and his phones were tapped. The FBI was listening intently to his every word for blackmail material that they could use to silence King. You're probably asking, silence him? As in pressure him into discontinuing activism and renouncing his beliefs? To which we'd answer, no. They wanted Dr. King to kill himself. In 1964, after years of collecting audio evidence of Dr. King's marital affairs, King was sent a suicide package 2 days before he was supposed to collect his Nobel Peace Prize. The package included copies of the incriminating audio, as well as a truly horrifying letter. The letter, while anonymous, is believed to some to have been written by Sullivan himself. It's a verbally abusive speech that opens with King. In view of your low-grade, abnormal personal behavior, I will not dignify your name with either a Mr. or Reverend or a Doctor, and your last name calls to mind only the type of king such as King Henry VIII and his countless acts of adultery and immoral conduct lower than that of a beast. The letter almost reads like the cruelest internet comment you've ever seen, complete with a plethora of personal insults and spelling errors. And much like an internet troll with a serious mean streak, the letter ends by attempting to pressure pressure Dr. King into committing suicide. It reads, "King, there is only one thing left for you to do. You know what it is. You have just 34 days in which to do. This exact number has been selected for a specific reason, and it has a definite practical significance. You are done. There is but one way out for you. You better take it before your filthy, abnormal, fraudulent self is bared to the nation." While for legal reasons they stop just short of saying straight up, "Kill yourself or we'll humiliate you," the implications are crystal clear. When King didn't give in and take his own life, Cartha Deloach, the FBI assistant director at the time, began leaking the incriminating evidence to every news outlet imaginable. They were ruthless in their willingness to destroy reputations and lives to achieve their goals, but things were going to get a whole lot worse. While they were trying to manipulate Dr. King into taking his own life, the FBI were stoking the fires of tension among the Nation of Islam and the Organization of Afro-American Unity, both known for their association with civil rights leader El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, better known as Malcolm X. Through CoinTelPro, the FBI widened the rift between Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the Nation of Islam. After a sustained harassment campaign involving infiltration, rumor mongering, and the artificial elevation of conflict, the disagreements of Malcolm X and Muhammad turned deadly, and Malcolm X was assassinated by some Nation of Islam gunmen. While the FBI denied direct involvement in the assassination, there's extremely credible evidence
Save 25% on new AICPA memberships. Join today.
that their involvement in exacerbating the conflict led to the murder. As the 1960s drew on, the FBI intensified its CoinTelPro operations against.
Y'all ain't dropping off. Y'all a motherfucking feds or something. The fuck up out of here. Y'all ain't saying shit. Fuck you motherfuckers.
Prominent civil rights groups, Dr. King and his associates in particular. This project was known as CoinTelPro Black Hate. According to a 1968 FBI memo, they feared that Martin Luther King Jr. was becoming a kind of messiah figure and would unite the various disparate civil rights groups into a force that could truly be reckoned with. If Dr. King ever decided to reject nonviolence and lead to an armed revolt, they would be in serious trouble. King was public enemy number one, but prominent members of groups like the Black Panthers weren't far behind. All of them had to go. The FBI concluded with numerous police departments in cities with considerable Black Panther presences, including San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Oakland, Philadelphia, and Chicago. They would coordinate raids into the homes of Black Panther members without warrants, during which many of said members were shot dead by police. One particularly infamous example is the assassination of Chicago Black Panther Party chairman Fred Hampton. On December 4th, 1969, Hampton was drugged and incapacitated by deep cover FBI infiltrator William O'Neill. A Chicago PD tactical unit then entered his home at the FBI's behest and murdered Hampton in his bed in cold blood. No crime was too cruel and no tactic was too underhanded for CoinTelPro. With the help of colluding police departments, the FBI was able to launch a brutal harassment campaign against figures in the world of leftist politics and civil rights. Specific individuals like Elmer Geronimo Pratt, a Black Panther Party leader, were accused of crimes they didn't commit and arrested on false pretenses. Evidence was falsified, witnesses were intimidated, and legality was twisted to serve whatever purpose the FBI wanted it to. Pratt spent 27 years in jail for a fallacious murder charge just because he was a member of the Panthers. Members of the KKK, like Gary Thomas Rowe, were kept on the FBI payroll as informants, while still committing atrocities like the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing. And this wasn't an isolated incident. Under CoinTelPro, it was clear that the FBI preferred hardline white supremacist groups to black liberation movements. They funded and supported former members of the 1960s far-right group the Minutemen in their goal to create this secret army organization, essentially a militant terrorist cell that fought against civil rights groups with tactics of intimidation and outright violence. Hundreds, if not thousands, of potential enemies of the FBI were spied on with everything from wiretaps to direct stalking techniques. colleagues. They even teamed up with the CIA in 1967 as part of their own domestic spying project, Operation Chaos. The CoinTelPro reign of terror would consume the whole decade, a decade mostly known for flower power, free love, and imported British rock. The whole program was so sprawling that even figures like James Baldwin, Ernest Hemingway, and Muhammad Ali were on their list of enemies. Incidentally, Muhammad Ali ended up being a major force in the end of the CoinTelPro operations, as his 1971 fight with Joe Frazier acted as a form of cover, while activist group Citizens Commission to investigate the FBI broke into an FBI field office in Pennsylvania. The group stole critical files on the CoinTelPro operations and blew the lid on the whole sordid affair, leading to considerable scandals and shame for the FBI and the public eye. Within a year, J. Edgar Hoover had announced that centralized CoinTelPro operations were officially over. And while the FBI has hardly been squeaky clean since, the dissolution of the centralized CoinTelPro operations was an undeniable win for anyone who likes the idea of living in a truly free country. Of course, only a fraction of the files were stolen, and many of the files subsequently released by the FBI have been heavily altered and redacted. The fact is, we will never know the full extent of the FBI's sinister activities between 1956 and 1971. But what we do know is that the FBI activities under the CoinTelPro umbrella were some of the most terrifying and illegal in American history. Groups who were simply exercising their quintessentially American First Amendment rights were attacked, defamed, arrested, and dissolved. And the people who formed these groups were at best threatened and manipulated, and at worst murdered and pressured towards suicide. We wish we could give you a more comforting ending, but instead, we'll leave you with two questions. What are the chances that CoinTelPro was an isolated incident? And what else have the FBI done that we don't even know about? Check out FBI's most violent, most wanted of all.
So as you see, that this shit ain't no game. These folks got the FBI working to knock down people that speak in peace, people that speak in harmony, and people that speak in healing to the world and trying to heal our people. These people don't care. They don't care. They probably watching now. Same motherfucker who followed me into my back driveway, pulling up on me with all black tinted windows with Navy stickers on this thing and Army this, Army that. Talking about he looking for, but ain't nobody stay here that name. And this just keep on happening constantly and constantly. Steady following me. But they think they scam me, they not scam me. Cause I'm already dead to this shit. What else could you motherfuckers take from me? Nothing. Not even my life. Motherfucker. I done died too many motherfucking times. I just got out of coma. Think I give a fuck? My people gonna rise regardless. Motherfucking regardless. You feel me? So it ain't no stopping this shit. Even if you kill a motherfucker, it still ain't gonna stop me. Because energy never motherfucking die. Remember that. I'm a multi-dimensional being. Energy never motherfucking die. Ever. So you can keep on following me and keep on fucking with me. Keep on thinking you intimidating me. Do it look like I'm scared, motherfucker? Fuck no. I come from the jungle, motherfucker. You motherfuckers done took everything from us. And now we finna get it back and you bitches mad. You motherfuckers wanna stop everybody who's speaking out about this shit going on. All these old inside ass motherfucking jobs y'all doing. You feel me? All these senseless killings y'all doing. Trying to blame it on the next motherfucker. All these drive-bys and school shootings and all kind of shit going on. Yeah, we know who it really is. Motherfuckers better wake the fuck up. You feel me? I'm looking at the news. At least 19 kids and 2 adults killed in Texas at an elementary school. Who you think did it? Who the fuck gonna go to elementary school and kill all them people? Who else? We know who the fuck it is. These motherfuckers can't. Nah. That shit ain't gonna work. We know who it is, and excuse my French, but just seeing that got me upset. Like, man, that shit is all this killing and all this wickedness finna come to cease. Why people ain't finna be going through this shit no more? They ain't finna be having us down no more. They ain't finna be having us working for them no more. Slaving for them no more. Shit finna be over with. So they wanna drain every little energy that we got and take every little bit, every fucking crumb that them motherfuckers can take. But it ain't gonna work. They playing, they hiding out in the motherfucking caves and all up underground and shit in them underground cities. When the summertime hit, it still ain't gonna happen. Still ain't gonna work. Instead of trying to push it out, still ain't gonna work. Still ain't gonna work. So they can keep on following me. They keep on calling us extremists and putting us on the FBI lists and watching us and following us and just some real weird shit. But believe me, I see right through them motherfuckers. Ain't nobody dropped a motherfucking comment yet. Not now comment yet. That's how I know that the motherfuckers watching. I don't trust nothing. Feel me? These 2 motherfuckers on here right now giving me bad vibe. They ain't saying peace, God, or nothing. That's how you know them motherfuckers watching. So let me hit y'all with another motherfucking video. Show y'all how these motherfuckers get down. And try to take out people that speak in peace. How they try to take out people that speak in righteousness and healing. Like they did Dr. Sebi. You feel me? Shout out to Yah'Mu Awakening. Free to God Rashad Jamal, man. Because we know that everything is all a setup with these motherfuckers. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan. It's all a setup. It's all a motherfucking setup. They hiring these house niggeros in the hood that knock us down. That's how they ran me out. Now I'm putting this shit together like, damn, how they switch me up like that? How did they motherfucking switch me up like that, bro? How did my name get switched up like that, bro? And I got credentials built on loyalty. How will I become so famous like that? How a motherfucker be ready to kill a motherfucker so quick and run me off? Towards why I didn't run off. I was ready to die till the last motherfucking day. But for what though? Now I know. It's CoinTel in the hood. It's CoinTel in the hood, nigga. You see how they did the Panthers, how they sent that motherfucker in the Panthers to switch everything up on niggas? Throw third on this nigga name, throw third, spread rumors within the group and shit, get motherfuckers knocked off and just disturb the whole group. You see? They do that shit in war too. They did this shit with Hitler. They did it with all of them. CoinTelPro. Yeah. So we gotta be alert to this shit. Like, man, they in the hood. When I start rising in the hood, and they always wanted me down and high, I noticed how people just wanted me down. People wanted me broke. People wanted me fucked up. And I used to wonder why. And there's a certain few individuals assigned to a nigga. And to this day, they still assigned to a nigga by CoinTelPro. Same niggas you think you know. Same motherfuckers you think you know and got love for and got loyalty for. They in the hood working with them people. And just like they disperse the Panther Party, they disperse the hoods. They get them knocked off. And they stand on that shit like it's stamped. Go shoot a video of the shit and rap all day about it. And them be the niggas running around with them wires, but paid already hitmen that's knocking our goddesses and gods down. See, when you start waking up in the hood and you start trying to come out that slumber that you've been in, you done made so many mistakes in this shit. You really start seeing this shit. You start rising. And you wonder why a lot of people come against you, especially when you in them streets, but you trying to tap out that shit. It don't be regular homies. It be them homies that been infiltrated. Yeah, they been infiltrated. So they sending them all shapes, sizes, and colors. You feel me? Got that boys in the hood on. Yeah, I'm laid back. I'm chilling. And I wish you would. And I'm gonna tell you this. It's a lot of brothers in the hood that done died for nothing. I'm starting to realize why all the good brothers, when we be thinking like, damn, why all the good brothers die in the hood? He ain't did nothing. Why they kill him? He was doing good, trying to get out the game. You wonder who did it? You wonder who did it? R.I.P. to all mine, you feel me? And I know 80% of mine who died by CoinTelPro. Cause this shit is all adding up. How these weird house Negroes be acting, niggas be acting. You feel me? There's more to it. It's a check behind it. There's more to it. Niggas be doing dirt, getting caught up, trying to get out shit, so they go work for them. Yup. Now look at this video right here about the CoinTelPro, FBI program that's designed to take down black brothers that speak in righteousness. Shit, no cap, man. I can't make this shit up, man. I can't make this shit up, man. I can't make it up. There's some shit you can't make up. Some shit you can't make up. No, you can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up right here. No.
This is Democracy Now! I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez.
Well, we end today's show in Texas, where a black activist says he is the first person to be targeted and prosecuted under a secretive U.S. surveillance effort to track so-called black identity extremists. On December 12th, activist Rakim Balagoon awoke to armed FBI agents storming his Dallas home apartment. He was then jailed for nearly 6 months without the possibility of bail as the FBI investigated him for domestic terrorism, in part because of his Facebook posts criticizing police brutality. He was released earlier this month after U.S. attorneys failed to prosecute him. Balagoon is a founding member of the group's Guerrilla Mainframe and the Huey P. Newton Gun Club. The groups coordinate meals for homeless people, organize youth picnics, run self-defense classes, protest police brutality, and advocate for the rights of black gun owners. The Guardian reports investigators began tracking him after he was part of a 2015 protest against police brutality, and that the FBI learned about the protests from a video on InfoWars, a far-right website run by Alex Jones. Balagoon's arrest comes after a leaked August 2017 report from the FBI's Domestic Terrorism Analysis Unit revealed that the FBI claiming, quote, it is very likely black identity extremists' perceptions of police brutality against African Americans spurred an increase in premeditated, retaliatory, lethal violence against law enforcement and will very likely serve as justification for such violence.
Civil liberties groups have slammed the FBI report, comparing the memo to the FBI's covert CoinTelPro program of the 1950s, 60s, and 70s counterintelligence program, which targeted civil rights movement. Many have also noted the FBI memo was dated August 3rd, only a few days before the deadly white supremacist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, where white supremacist Ku Klux Klan members and neo-Nazis killed an anti-racist protester, Heather Heyer, and injured dozens more. The FBI does not seem to be surveilling and targeting white people who post violent things to social media, including multiple white men who've recently carried out mass school shootings. Demetrius Kabuchis, who shot dead 8 students and 2 teachers last week at Santa Fe High School in Texas, had posted on his Facebook page a picture of a T-shirt reading "Born to Kill." Nicholas Cruz, the 19-year-old man who killed 17 people at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High in Parkland, Florida on Valentine's Day, had shared numerous posts on social media so disturbing.
I gotta pause that. I got to pause that. I got to pause that and speak on that. Now, did you just hear that? Did you just hear that? She said that all these little Caucasian little kids shooting up the schools. One just shot up the school last week. And he posted on his Facebook, "I was born to kill," with a T-shirt on there. And they ain't taking down or nothing. And then they posting all of this about shooting up this and shooting that, shooting grocery stores, racist this, racist that, but they ain't snatching none of that down. So that's how you know this is a white supremacy systematic system, period. That's designed to go against the melanated, period. And I ain't choosing no sides. I'm black. I ain't even black. I'm melanated. I'm a 9-ether being. A God in the flesh. But you see how they'll slap them on the hand, how they'll let them do whatever they want to do. But and then we get on here and talk about, oh, we need to wake up. We need to start eating better. We need to realize that we can heal ourselves and we can tap into different frequencies and energies and uplift our people and things like that. We ain't talking about running in no grocery stores, killing nobody, and killing up no schoolhouses and blowing up nothing. So how is why the so-called black man be labeled like that? Like we just some terrorists, some old crazy ass, when we just speaking up for righteousness. because we tired of being treated the way we've been being treated, and our people and our ancestors, and that we won't change. And y'all steady saying it's a free country, it's the land of the free, but every time violating our constitutional rights, steady killing our brothers and sisters, steady locking us up, steady coming with the slavery shit, racism everywhere you go, conjugation all around, got people divided, got the ghetto suburbs. Come on now, we see. Go down south right now, it's split up. You can go one side of the city, it's all blacks, and then you cross one road, it's all whites. Go to Covington, go to Baton Rouge, go to Slidell, go to go in them trenches, Bogalusa's. You see the white people on one side, the black, and with the school, it's still segregated. They just started unsegregating the school like in 17 when one of my daughters was going up. I was like, damn, this shit is still racist. But for what? Why? Why? Why they want to target us all the time with the FBI and the government when we speak in truth and knowledge and wisdom and healing and righteousness? It's ridiculous. You see how they keep following me, how they keep trying to intimidate me like they not doing none of that, man. They capping. And they watching now. I done lost everything. Can't take nothing from me. Can't take this knowledge from me. I know damn sure well. So this knowledge that I got now, my Kundalini Holy Ghost energy done rose. So you can't do shit to stop me. Period. Nothing. And whoever on here feel the same way, drop a 9. You feel me? Because once you woke, you woke. You ain't even got to be fully woke. But at this time right now, where I'm at, I might not be perfect at it. But best believe me, I'm there. I'm in that lane. Believe me when I say it. Y'all peep this video.
Disturbing. He was reported to the FBI multiple times, yet they never arrested him. Well, for more, we go to Texas, where we're joined by Rakem Balagoon.
Will very likely serve as justification for such violence.
Civil liberties groups have slammed the FBI report comparing the memo to the FBI's covert CoinTelPro program of the 1950s, 60s, and 70s counterintelligence program, which targeted civil rights movement. Many have also noted the FBI memo was dated August 3rd, only a few days before the deadly white supremacist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, where white supremacist Ku Klux Klan members and neo-Nazis killed an anti-racist protester, Heather Heyer, and injured dozens more. The FBI does not seem to be surveilling and targeting white people who post violent things to social media, including multiple white men who've recently carried out mass school shootings. Demetrius Kabuchis, who shot dead 8 students and 2 teachers last week at Santa Fe High School in Texas, had posted on his Facebook page a picture of a T-shirt reading "Born to Kill." Nicholas Cruz, the 19-year-old man who killed 17 people at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High in Parkland, Florida on Valentine's Day, had shared numerous posts on social media so disturbing he was reported to the FBI multiple times, yet they never arrested him. Well, for more, we go to Texas, where we're joined by Rakem Balagoon, who was released earlier this month after being held for nearly 6 months in San Francisco. We're joined by Makia Cyril, co-founder and executive director of the Center for Media Justice and a Black Lives Matter Bay Area activist. Let's begin with Rakem. You were arrested December 12th. Describe what happened.
Well, pretty much on December 12th, around 6 a.m. in the morning, me and my son was at home resting when FBI agents rammed our door and immediately rushed us outside in our underwear, under gunpoint to be arrested. And for me and my son to be, separated and overall me be hauled off to jail.
And what did they tell you? On what grounds? What were you charged with?
I was charged with 922G, which is prohibited possession of a firearm.
And did you have a license for the firearm?
Well, in the state of Texas, you don't need a license or even have to register firearms to have them legally. Long as, you're not a felon or considered a prohibited person, you're able to have firearms, within your home or your vehicle. And if it's a long barrel, you're able to open carry that without any licenses or anything of that nature.
Why were you held for almost a year, Rakim? A half a year?
Well, the reason why I was held was because the FBI was pretty much surveillancing me for over 2.5 years as a domestic terrorist. And out from, surveillancing me for being a domestic terrorist, they overreached and tried to use a previous charge from 2005 to say that this charge made me prohibited of having a firearm, which the elements of that charge actually didn't. But the reason I was able to be detained for so long is because when I initially got locked up, I went to a magistrate hearing with a magistrate judge for a bond, and the judge denied me bond based off of me using my First Amendment right to criticize police officers on Facebook.
And how was your case ultimately resolved?
It was dismissed. We filed pretrial motions stating that I am not a prohibited person and forcing the United States government to prove that I'm a prohibited person, not to have firearms. And the government failed to prove that. And so therefore they had to release me after holding me over 5 months of being detained.
Let's bring Malkia Cyril into this conversation with the Center for Media Justice. Malkia, your thoughts on how Facebook and Instagram posts of people like the alleged mass shooters in Texas and Florida were able to post guns and other threatening language and symbols on their Facebook page, yet someone like Rakim is surveilled and held in jail for half a year and then not charged?
Well, first of all, let's be very clear. The history of gun control in this country is totally and completely focused on controlling the possession of weapons of Black people while allowing white people to run free, shooting up the nation. So I think that we have to, first of all, understand that, whether we're talking about posting online or we're talking about just living, your offline life, there's discrimination in how Black people and white people are treated in terms of their First Amendment rights and in terms of their right to carry. Second of all, on Facebook, we already know that Black activists are being censored, are victims of hate speech regularly, are surveilled. There's undue cooperation between Facebook and law enforcement agencies when it comes to the targeting of Black activists. So the online space, particularly on these platforms, these social media platforms, and especially on Facebook, the largest social media platform in the world, is a contested space, is a discriminatory space, and is a space that is virulently anti-Black.
I want to turn to Texas State Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, questioning Attorney General Jeff Sessions in November about the leaked FBI counterterrorism memo claiming that so-called Black identity extremists pose a threat to law enforcement.
Are you familiar with the names Eric Garner, Walter Scott, Jameer Rice? My question is, as I hold up the poster dealing with the report under your jurisdiction, Black Identity Extremists, it is interesting to me that you are opposing individuals who are opposing lethal force, similar to the attack on Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King on CoinTelPro, but there seems to be no report dealing with the Tiki Torch Parade in Charlottesville chanting, "Jews will not replace us." Why is there an attack on black activists versus any reports dealing with the alt-right and the white nationalists? Can you answer that question quickly?
I'm not aware.
Planning on investigating that?
When was that report completed?
In August of 2017.
I'm not aware of, I have not studied that report.
I ask you to because it's an attack on individuals who are simply trying to petition the government in a redress of grievances.
That was U.S. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee questioning Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Makia Cyril, your comments.
I mean, look, white supremacists have committed the largest share of domestic extremist related killings last year. We know that white supremacy and white supremacists represent the biggest domestic threat to the United States. And yet, Trump cut funding to countering violent extremism to fight white supremacy. We understand very clearly where the priorities lie. And in a digital environment, those priorities, that discrimination and that undue focus on black people and black activists becomes exacerbated. So that, first of all, I'm just so happy to hear that sister speak so clearly to this issue. But we understand very, very clearly that under these current political conditions, black activists are being targeted, Muslims are being targeted, immigrants are being targeted while white supremacists are running free.
And what is happening with your battle against the FBI's Black Identity Extremist program, which I think a lot of people are going to be hearing for the first time right here, Makia?
Well, let's be clear. I want to remind you all that in the 70s, what it took to even bring the counterintelligence program that was targeting the Black Panther Party and other civil rights activists to light, several white people had to break into an FBI office, expose that program through illegal means, right? Today, we have FOIAs, we have, Color of Change, Center for Media Justice, ACLU, Center for Constitutional Rights have used the FOIA process to find out more information about this program. Color of Change has been able to uncover something called a race paper, where they're looking into, what really is going on. But at the end of the day, we understand that very little information is available to us. Part of the problem is a deep lack of transparency. We know that the FBI is undergoing its own separate crisis, which makes it even more difficult under the current political conditions to get any information. We know that members of Congress, as you just heard, have gone to the FBI, FBI director, have gone to Jeff Sessions and demanded information and not received any. So right now we see those in power stalling, not sharing information. I think it will require a lawsuit of pretty significant proportions just to get basic information, the goal of which is to get the FBI to withdraw this designation, to rescind any funds dedicated to attacking black activists using this designation. But it's going to be an uphill battle and one that we're prepared to be on.
Rakim, do you think you are still under surveillance? And what happened?
Yes, I do.
And how are you going to challenge what happened to you, being held and then not tried?
Well, what I definitely want to do is definitely continue to bring up the conversation have the, federal government overreached in this attempt to identify, domestic terrorists. And, I also want to bring to the conversation the FBI goal into, pretty much retaliating against black activists for, black activists protesting against the excessive use of, police, of abuse. And so, as this, continue to unfold, because I only been out of their custody for 2 months. So right now I'm currently just getting back to being back out in regular society and things of that nature. But me and my team, we will continue to hold,
Rakim Balagoon, we want to thank you for being.
So as y'all see, that CoinTelPro, they be targeting everybody that's black, that's speaking out, that's on Facebook, on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, that's sharing information about our people that's rising up. You know what I mean? They so it's like they know that we rising. They know that we waking up. So they trying to put a lid on all the information that we exposing. But like I said, everything is coming to the light right now. This is the age of the Aquarius where all information is being exposed. So how they follow me, how they stalk me down, how they get off the freeway doing like 100 and shoot past me and turn the corner all crazy, trying to run into me like they crazy. How they, man, I'm gonna start, y'all know I've been recording them, and y'all know that I had them on the University of Conscious Mind channel, where if you look on my Facebook page, Sig the Pharaoh 500, and go to last year, June, you will see how they was following me. I was recording the shit out they ass. But I got a whole lot of videos now on this page showing that CoinTelPro is active. But like I said, I'm building in the spiritual realm right now. I'm building in the kingdom, in the spiritual kingdom. So everything on this spiritual, on this physical, it's kind of 10 times slower. So anything that I do or we do on this earth, on planet Kai, in the physical, whether uplifting our people, whether trying to heal our people on good vibration, showing love even to the other races, if they on high vibration. So whatever you do in this physical, it's like 10 times, 100 times stronger in the spiritual. So when we helping somebody out down here, when we creating and trying to build in the physical and bringing peace and harmony to humanity, that's actually building in the kingdom, the spiritual realm also. And it's building 100 times more. So we got to remember that every stone uncovered, every brick laid, and every step took is beneficial in the spiritual war that we in. See, it's a whole lot going on right now. It's a whole lot going on right now. So I'm gonna show y'all this video how the Latin Kings got infiltrated by CoinTelPro in New York. See, they everywhere. They in the hoods. How you think Larry Hoover and them? How you think Geronimo and them? Y'all better stay woke.
the last few years, our redwood forests have
Stay woke to this shit. So here go another video, just exposing how the FBI work in the hood, in the cities, and all throughout the world, knocking shit off, knocking gods and goddesses off, knocking people that's being righteous off. And it's coming to the light. So if I get took out, best believe me, I done built enough. And every second I'm billing. Every second I'm earning and gaining more knowledge and wisdom and courage. So nothing can stop me, not even death. So if the FBI and feds on here right now watching CIA, CoinTelPro, motherfuckers, I ain't scared. Motherfuckers, I ain't scared. So keep on following me. And you might motherfucking learn something. Cause they sending all these house niggeros, Mexicanos, Chinamans, skinheads, that been in the penitentiary, that been in the army, you feel me? That's on payroll. Man, y'all better stay woke.
Well, 1995, you become the leader of the Latin Kings.
He stays on course, doesn't he?
I'm sorry?
You stay on course.
Oh, yeah, of course. So it's 1995, and you become the leader of the Latin Kings in New York. How old were you at the time?
Well, my 30s.
In your 30s.
That was 97, 96, 97.
Okay. And you're known as an Inca?
That's a title that people use, so, you know. I like to educate, because you're throwing words around. Incas was a dynasty. They were one of the strongest indigenous peoples. So that's what I was teaching. Rename yourself, rebrand yourself, learn who they were, learn what true traditions, who were their gods, what did they do? But in that sense, that's why they used that name for us. It was a prideful name to say he's gonna help lead us. But there was always more people that I felt as a community, if you learn my movement, was to bring other people on board. Like National Congress of Puerto Rican Rights and Richie Perez, the New Panther, Black Panther movement, the Nation of Islam, National Action Network, the Zulu Nation, the Nietas. That's what the fuck I was about. And not that he wasn't about. His sacrifice just gave me a door and the perfect opportunity, alignment, where I had an opportunity to lead and to see if we could practice, right? Where we preach what we want, what we really wanted to say. And that's what I think that's what I was trying when I had the power to lead the nation or to give my ultimate advice of the route we should take for a better tomorrow.
Well, when you started as leader of the Latin Kings, you wanted to move the organization away from violence and crime.
Yeah, everybody does. That's every other immigrant in every gang in America. Like you seen the gangs of New York when they were top hats and bow tie. It started criminal enterprise. Then you find your way in America and you get legal and you start learning to live and you make. So I'm just saying, every community and immigrant goes through that evolution. The last law usually is written by the first man who broke it.
I've never heard that term before. The last law is usually written by the first man who broke it.
Wouldn't have been a law.
Yeah.
No guns now.
Well, you talked about how being the leader of the Latin Kings and announcing that you wanted the organization to move away from crime and violence actually became somewhat dangerous for yourself. You said, now even some of my own people want me out of the way. They think I've gotten soft. And when I'm not worrying about them, I'm worrying about Giuliani's damn police to try to do anything to send me back to prison. So what kind of pushback did you get from the organization with this stance?
Well, it wasn't much because, like everything, once you sit with the Richard Perez, with the people who knew about this thing, they started teaching me to watch those around you that become your enemy all of a sudden, because they usually COINTELs, those are the signs of people that have been infiltrated or caught that did something wrong, and now are in the process of dealing with, they need to give information or take. Of course, like every organization, we thought that evolving and moving from that would not let us to support those that usually in jail and everything think that's the only economy that they believe only a crook will take care of crook. You don't get my point? When it's really the opposite, because if you usually find out and you ask every king who gets indicted or arrested, the ones who take care of them are their friends and their family who wasn't in the nation, not because it's bad, but the nation carries on. So it isn't the crooks and the thieves that take care of you usually after you fall. It's the legit person in your life that always been there. So my point I was telling, imagine if the kings becomes that legit person. So that means we could care for you more in a way in there than us doing it with stinking thinking. And these are the steps and the painful steps we will have to take to get there. And some of the thing is growing pain, like you learn, like you said. It's saying things you shouldn't have said or being too vibrant, too colorful, because then ain't now. There wasn't street interrupters, cure violence, all this acceptance of Facebook, the gram. I was new, I was different. The message was church, big, loud, proud. Fuck with us, we'll make you mad. You got my point?
So as y'all see, CoinTelPro infiltrated the Latin Kings. That was the Latin King of New York, the ringleader. And he telling how CoinTelPro come through the hood and knock us off. See, and then they make the Latin Kings like the Latin Kings was bad, like the Latin Kings was a gang, but really the Latin Kings was on peace and prosperity. The Latin Kings was on knowing they self, you feel me, knowing who they truly are, you feel me? And that's what, and protecting they self and they kind, you feel me? So CoinTelPro work in so many ways that a melanated brother gotta be careful, especially in these times where they trying to knock us off, and it's a lot of us that's being woken. Even the trappers, the rappers, the shooters. Like 3 weeks ago, I was going through a lot because my goddess is sitting in the hospital with lupus, and she's still there. I got the remedy too, but this brother had tattoos all over his face, and he was speaking on a spiritual level, and me and him bonded and connected in a way that I ain't never seen before. But I have had spiritual encounters with real thugs on the street, you feel me? Never known them, never seen them, and don't know them from a can of paint, where our DNA activating. We just feel that vibe. We be on that vibe like they know the struggle. You feel me? They know. And I was like amazed because he was a youngster in his 20s, but it's like I was happy to see that he was woke and he was explaining some shit that on that level where when we be under attack, man, we gotta see this shit for what it really is, because these folks is playing dirty. You feel me? Drop a 9 in a comment if you feel me. I don't see nobody dropping no comments or nothing. I'm starting to think that everybody on here the feds. I ain't gonna even lie. But here go one about Martin Luther King. CoinTelPro.
King, there's only one thing left for you to do. King, there's only...
They wrote Dr. King a suicide letter, told him to look at this. See.
One thing left. King, there's only one thing left for you to do. You know what it is. This is an anonymous letter sent by the FBI to Martin Luther King, urging him to commit suicide. He was one of the primary targets for the FBI's illegal surveillance program in the 60s called CoinTelPro, the counterintelligence program which targeted many civil rights groups, such as the Black Panthers and the American Indian Movement, and activists like Stokely Carmichael and Malcolm X for more than a decade. The purpose was to, quote, expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, and otherwise neutralize the possible threats against the existing order. The program was exposed in 1971 when a group of activists stole documents from an FBI office on the night of the Muhammad Ali-Joe Frazier fight and leaked them to the press. Today, CoinTelPro is something people recall from the past as the darkest FBI program exposed so far.
Y'all think it's a game, huh? Y'all think it's a game, huh? Y'all think it's a game. Y'all really think it's a game, huh? See, them folks play so dirty where, man, they done locked the guy Rashid up. Free the guy Rashid Jamal, man. Towards what? Ain't no telling what they trying to do to that boy. You feel me? Ain't no telling. Ain't no telling. So it's like, at this time right now, we gotta realize that when we speaking this truth, when we making these videos and putting this truth and knowledge and enlightenment out there like that, it's critical. It's critical. It's critical. When we making these videos and we going live and we exposing these devils, we putting our life on the line. We putting our families on the line and our freedom on the line. This channel don't make a penny. It could, but it don't. We must realize, brothers and sisters, that we got to be aware of our surroundings, in our circles. Because obviously, they everywhere. They everywhere. And they watching. Peace, love, and light to the world. Peace, love, and light and healing to the world. Because that's all we speaking on. That's all we pushing. Is motivation. Is cosmic intelligence. Supreme talk. Uncovering the lies and the wicked curses that have been put on to our people. Why is we targeted the way that we being targeted? But that time is finna end real soon. Even if I don't make it to see it, I'll be back. Energy never die. But I know one thing. I'm seeing it now. I'm seeing the change. I'm seeing the system crash. I'm seeing everything revolving into what God wanted to be. I'm seeing my people waking up. I'm seeing the energy shift. I'm feeling it. I'm a part of it. It's a part of me. So with that said, this a beautiful moment. This is a beautiful moment right now. This is a moment to grab a hold of right now and cherish. Even when we under attack, even when it look like it's dark and it ain't no light. I know God stand with me. I know he got me. So when I'm out there and when I'm in my home, I don't fear nothing. I done died many times. I done came back, so I know it's my purpose, my destiny. This is my journey. Can't nobody walk with me, not my mama, my brothers, nobody but me. Now you can walk on the side of me and with me and with God. But there's something that everybody individually need to figure out on their own. And it might get rough and hard, but figure it out. Because right now we ain't got nothing but pure divine energy on the world right now, where it's the time to start focusing on yourself and focusing on God. And I know it's the youngsters out there caught up and they brainwashed, full of them nanobots, and they done hit the switch on them. So all these shootings going on, and most of the shootings be CoinTelPro. Most of them. So I say that to say, be very cautious of your surroundings, woke ones. start observing your surroundings, who in the store with you, who following you, who behind you, who on the side of you, who in the same line with you, who trying to spark conversation with you, who parking beside you, who all that, you will start to see. You start to see it. You start to see them. And they gonna start scattering like little mice. Like little mice. But they try to catch you slipping. So rule number 1 is don't get caught slipping. Already done had 2 kidnap attempts on me. And I know who it is. We know who it is. My organs must be good, huh? My blood must be on fire with that Kundalini energy. And they want it. But they can't have it. They can't have it. They can't have it. So, another video on that.
I'm Lutza, and
So let me show y'all this other video on the CoinTelPro. And it's a little seminar where a brother's speaking at. Excuse me, and he breaking it down. He really breaking it down. So we gonna expose CoinTelPro and the FBI tonight. I'm gonna show you why they keep on following me. And they might be following you too. Stay woke. Stay woke.
I'm Lutza, and I'm from Minneapolis, and I am one of the RNC conspiracy defendants, and I'll tell you a little bit about my case in a minute. But I first want to talk about some other cases that I have some relationship to in my work as well. Right now across the country, there are over 24 anarchists who are either in prison, serving prison sentences, or facing serious prison sentences for their political work. And of course, that's only, that's part of the ongoing criminalization of dissent. The movie was awesome. Fast forward to my own case. I was involved in a group called the RNC Welcoming Committee, along with a few other people in the room right now, in St. Paul. The RNC was coming to St. Paul in 2008, and we started organizing in late 2006. And we were organizing as anarchists, but we were organizing across ideological lines. We were investigated by more law enforcement agencies than I can name, and we are now being prosecuted for that. 8 of us are being prosecuted for that work. We're being charged with conspiracy to commit riot and conspiracy to commit criminal damage to property. When we go to trial at the end of October, it will have been more than 4 years since we started our work around the RNC to the point of the trial. And it's been a difficult process for us, but I think that we've been incredibly fortunate in having laid groundwork in the Twin Cities so that we have really immense and really strong support across ideological lines. And it's meant that we've also had the ability to use our case as a way to educate people about the fact that what's happening to us happens all the time, not just to activists, but to everybody. And we're being targeted for what we did, but the real targets are everybody else. this is a warning, as is I think every political prosecution, a warning that you don't dare involve yourself in any sort of worthwhile organizing because you could be next.
My name is Fahad Ahmed. I was an organizer with Drum, DC's Rising Up and Moving in New York for about 8 or 9 years. I am here representing Drum as well as the Arab and Muslim Ethnicities and Diasporas Initiative at San Francisco State University to really sort of talk about the policing and criminalization of Muslim communities post 9/11. I just kind of want to briefly mention some of the ways that in which the community has been targeted, and then sort of, like the other speakers, talk a little bit about the politics behind it. The actual targeting of Muslim communities doesn't, I'm going to use Muslim a lot because that's sort of what I'm speaking on, but it includes Arab and South Asian. The targeting doesn't start only at 9/11. There were cases going on beforehand. One of the most harshly used things was the secret evidence law, which is essentially there is evidence against you. You will not be told what the evidence is. Your lawyer may not be told the evidence, what the evidence against you is. Or if the lawyer is told, then the lawyer cannot tell you what the evidence is. This was used particularly in conjunction with immigration laws. One of the prominent cases was the LA 8 case. A bunch of Palestinian activists, pro-Palestinian activists, who were targeted, and essentially their case lasted about 14 or 15 years, I believe, and just concluded a handful of years ago. But 9/11 hits, and there's a massive sweep of Arab, Muslim, and South Asian people, as well as people that may look like that, so it includes Panamanians and Dominicans as well. In the New York and New Jersey area, over 1,200 people are picked up under the intensive purpose of being associated with terrorism. Out of those 1,200 people, a total of 0 are found to have any connections. But these people spent anywhere from 6 months to 1.5 the first 3 to 4 months without any communication with their lawyers or with their families. These people were picked up off the streets, out of their homes, out of their jobs, and disappeared, just disappeared. And families would call us saying, I haven't heard from my father for 3 or 4 days. We don't know where he is. I'm just taken to prisons in New Jersey, held incommunicado, until organizations like Drum started going in, trying to organize with these folks, trying to get information out, trying to bring information in, and taking it to the press. 9/11, this happens, again, zero convictions related to terrorism. The few convictions they have are related to credit card fraud, identity theft, stuff like that. Then, because they produce nothing, they say, okay, now we need to register all these people. So they start the special registrations program, total of 28 or 29 countries, Muslim majority countries, plus North Korea throwing in for diversity. Muslim men between the ages of 16 and 45 are required to register with the US government if they are not citizens. Is all of these things they provide, to think about the function that it serves, first and foremost, it serves to legitimize the wars and the proxy wars going on in the Arab, Muslim, and South Asian worlds, whether it's in Afghanistan, Iraq, Palestine, or by proxy in Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia, and other places across the Muslim world. Secondly, what it does, it seeks to silence the very same communities that would be the most likely to speak out against these wars, essentially drives them to be quiet, to remain quiet, not come out, not protest, not resist. Somebody earlier had said, essentially to kill resistance. Thirdly, one of the important things we've seen is that there's actually a lot of money involved. Sort of with the privatization of national security, there are, the NYPD has like a $300 million budget, has been allocated $300 million over the years for this sort of domestic counterterrorism stuff. Most of that goes to contractors doing technology stuff, private agents, stuff like that. And I believe for the Los Angeles Police Department, it was $120 million. Over these years. So lots of money is being made, lots of contracts being made, a lot of money being exchanging and exchanging. Particular folks that have been targeted, one important comparison I want to make between CoinTelPro then and now. One is that CoinTelPro then was covert until, as it was mentioned, 1975, people bust in it and break these records out. Now this is very overt. The New York Times front page has articles talking about that they are using these tactics, and it is not only legal, but it is also socially acceptable. That people think that, oh, these people are enough of a problem that these tactics are acceptable and socially acceptable. The second big difference is then it targeted mostly politicized movements. And unfortunately, in my opinion, with the Muslim community, it's actually just targeted the larger community that really doesn't have much of a political movement going on. I'm not saying that that's in all the cases. There are particular imams, particular cases that have been targeted specifically for the activism, very more specifically, particularly stuff related to Palestine issues as well. Imam Jamil Al-Amin, formerly known as H. Brown, has been targeted for his work in the local Atlanta community. The Imam Luqman here in Detroit was sort of targeted, partially for his local work here, but partially as a way to win points in this counterterrorism kind of stuff. Lawyers, they have even targeted lawyers who have gone out to support Muslim individuals. The case of Lynn Stewart was targeted for defending the Sheikh Omar, a Egyptian sheikh who is serving a sentence right now. Given the intersection of a lot of these cases with issues related to Palestine, we have to recognize the role of Zionism, their organizations and their spokespersons within this country in pushing forward a lot of this Islamophobia and anti-Arab sentiment, whether that's the ADL or folks like Daniel Pipes, Martin Kramer, and other individuals as well, who constantly seek to denigrate Muslim individuals, organizations, and communities.
What that also says is that it is not behavior, just like with CoinTelPro, just like with all of these convictions, just like with all of these political prisoners cases, it is not actions that are the issue. It is the ideology, it is the identity, it is the representation of potential or vision for change that is what is being quashed here, right? That's what the Church Committee, right, the U.S. Senate said about the CoinTelPro operations. That at that point they were talking about the FBI, but it ranges over all those organizations, right? They said that, the purpose of these operations is to try to maintain the status quo, right? And any kind of thinking that disrupts that, right, is what the FBI has chosen to target. And as was pointed out, that is what has become normalized recently. What was done in those days covertly is not exactly the right word, because everybody could see it happening, but nonetheless unacknowledged and clearly illegal, right, has now they're working to normalize it in every possible way, like with the passage of the Patriot Act and all these state Patriot Acts, et cetera, et cetera.
So like I was saying, that they targeted everybody that speak out. Muslim, Christian, Buddha, Catholic, whatever you may be. It don't matter what you is, but the main target is us melanated people. And I'm finna pull up how China control society thinking. Another form of CoinTelPro, just on a higher level where they can't say nothing. They trying to make the phone go dead. they locking them up, putting them in prison for life for even saying anything or speaking out on any kind of spiritual belief or any kind of activist belief. They can't say nothing.
One execution was carried out in northern China. Names of those killed are not released.
When I say this shit deep, it's deep.
This iPhone video film secretly shows how one execution was carried out in northern China. Names of those killed are not released, and family members only find out after the execution.
Our estimates, sourced from court documents and media reports, are conservatively 2,000 death penalty cases in the last year.
Zhu Jingru has devoted her life to clearing her son's name. In 2005, Ur Haidong was charged with murder and 3 years later was executed. Ms. Zhu says the evidence speaks for itself. Her son was not present when the murder took place after an argument in a bar, and he had no connection with the murder weapon.
They didn't find any blood on his knife. There was no blood on him. They found none of the victim's DNA on him. They had no evidence.
The Chinese courts have refused repeated requests for a retrial. Ms. Zhu says it's a cover-up because the real killer paid a bribe to the judge and her son's organs were harvested.
We demanded to see the remains of my son, but the court refused. His father is a surgeon. We wanted to see whether my child's body was intact. They only gave us a slip of paper to collect his ashes the next day. It means they took his organs. It is a great catastrophe. We've lost our only child.
China banned organ harvesting from executed prisoners in 2015. But fundamental changes to the justice system have to take place to stop the innocent being executed. Confessions, not evidence, is still the primary source of getting someone convicted, and that's often coerced or extracted under torture. And once you get into court, there's little chance of a fair trial. 99% of cases are convicted. Advocates against the death penalty say there's been some progress. A decade ago, 10,000 were executed, but much more needs to be done.
The death sentence has been abolished for 13 types of crimes, but in China, 46 types of crimes still attract capital punishment. We're pushing for non-violent crimes and drug-related crimes to be excluded too.
But for Zhu Jingru, there's been little relief. At her son's gravesite, she offers him gifts for the afterlife and tells him she won't stop fighting until the lawyers and judge who sentenced him to death are brought to justice.
So, in China, they killing them all by the thousands. By the thousands. And if y'all don't know, about the social system credit score, that's taking place in China. Then they done tapped into their whole consciousness. Well, they know what they thinking and everything. I'm trying to find this one. And like I said, they knocking down everywhere. They set him up on a murder and killed him off. Here go another one.
You make vacations fun, and we make...
CoinTelPro at its finest, man. Y'all better stay woke.
For other countless hours. And once that I felt shut, they put me down. They asked me to do squat for other countless hours. And once that I felt shuffle, they bit me. Being beaten, facing uncertain future. I don't even know whether that I would die at that place. They put me down. They asked me to do squat for other countless hours. And once that I felt shuffle, they bit me. Being beaten, facing uncertain future. I don't even know whether that I would die at that place.
Can you explain why did you go to China in August of 2019?
Well, at that time, I need to join a business conference. That time in Shenzhen, I understand that it must be a bit tricky because that exactly the time what happens, the protest happens in Hong Kong, and it is a bit dangerous to me. Then I've been stopped and I put back to the custody. They gave me no reason. Then they said, oh, it's because it's too late now. I need to deliver you back to Shenzhen because we have something to ask you or something. And I felt a bit worried what happened, but my instincts and my intuition told me that it's about politics, of course. So I understand it's not simple. And they keep asking me to access my phone. So that's why they delivered me back to Shenzhen and they hand me over to a bunch of plainclothes officers. They showed no badges and they treat me very, very, very rudely. They say, shut up. Don't ask the reason. You will know. Then they put me into the custody, put me into the cell, and they put me on the tiger chair. Tiger chair is a chair but they could buckle me up. I can't move. Then I've been handcuffed and attached to the chair, and my legs would be also shackled and attached to the chair, so I can't move. And they asked 3 types of questions mainly. What do you think about Hong Kong? And then they start to narrow down to get more specific answers. And they ask why you want to attend the protest, and what job you're doing, and what's role of the UK behind the protest, and who you know enjoy the protest. There's something like that, and surrounding. And I feel very intimidating because I understand that even one message on my WhatsApp, it could be an evidence for them to do political charges. When I be put into the detention center, that is civilian police, nothing to do with the state security. So the state security police, they need to get into the detention center, ask me out every time for interrogation, because that is about so-called secret. So when I've been asked out for interrogation, I've been blindfolded, I've been hooded, I've been shackled, I've been handcuffed, and drove me on the unknown car, drove me into the unknown place. And I felt that it's very, very dead silent. And I heard the sounds of moving furniture. And I understand that is some tool for torture, because I understand that the whole process is abnormal and unusual. And suddenly they put me into a very, very uncomfortable position. They hung me up for countless hours that I can't remember. And they also sometimes I felt shuffle because that is too painful. That's without any evidence, because they hung me up. The pains, it cannot be visible. And they put me down. They asked me to do squat for other countless hours. And once that I felt shuffle, they bit me using a non-weapon, because I can't see anything. I'm still being hooded. It's very, very hard to breathe, because that hooded is not for you to breathe, actually. So I sweat a lot, hard to breathe, being beaten, facing uncertain future. Then they said, every time, if you want to speak, you need to say, report my master in Mandarin. I wanted to let you know who is your master, not Britain, not in English, in Mandarin, your motherland, China. And it's so inhumane, because I felt being dehumanized. And that time, I've been bitten, and sometimes too ill. I felt too ill. They asked me to stand still. I can't move anything. I can't move at all. And they try to deprive my sleep for other countless hours. And every time when I've been put back to the detention center, lots of bruises on my legs. I can't even move. And I put into the detention center, and afterwards then I put into the personal cell. I've been put into the solitary confinement, because the state security police, they don't want to let me to tell what situation I am to other inmates. And I felt loneliness. So I tried to kill time. That I thanked myself, and I prayed myself. And that kind of things could maintain my mentality. And that's the only way I could be rational. Otherwise, and I even thought that I might commit suicide. They need to get more information to charge me politically. So they claim, well, Simon, I understand that sometime you went for the trip in Shenzhen, you went to massage parlor. Tell me whether that you solicit prostitutes. And I understand it hints, because if I don't confess that, I would be politically charged immediately. And what I will be treated would be criminal detention. They tried to persuade me to confess a lighter charge. So I had no choice. I said, yes, I confess. And that's what becoming now pro-Beijing and the state media said I said as a prostitute. And this kind of things becoming the social stigma upon me for the rest of my life, even after I've been let out.
Search for the most pet-friendly rentals anywhere on apartments.com. Oh, you got it.
And that has 3 times of confession videotape. The one is I betrayed my motherland. That is for the preparedness that they charge me politically in the future. So now that's why I've been put on the wanted list by the National Security Police in Hong Kong. The second one that I admit, I confess, I said as a prostitute. And the third types of confession videotapes is they treat me very well. They ask me and have to say there's no torture. That they protect my legal rights to let me access my lawyers and family. But I rejected.
How long have Chinese authorities detained you for?
They detained me for 15 days. And I was very lucky because I thought I would be imprisoned for decades.
Out of those 15 days, which moment do you think was the worst?
Most worst. Of course, that is when the moment that I've been tortured, especially the first day. Because after a few days that they keep torturing me, I a little bit get used to it. But the first day is still very, very shocked that they could do that on me.
So why do you think the Chinese authorities let you go?
That time, my family members and my girlfriend report my missing in Hong Kong. So that time, it becomes a global news headline. And I think that is one of the reasons that actually could help me. Because when I look back, when the week that they started to stop the torture is exactly when the news and the media report my missing case globally. They felt pressure. I think that time, I tried my best to be cooperative while I need to rescue my life. I don't want to betray my friends, my protesters that I know. And I try best to deny the charges they claim that I work for the UK government, to stigmatize the UK government, to prove the UK government is behind the scenes for the protest. That is what the Beijing want to do their own propaganda. They said that as a foreign power manipulation, they could trigger the nationalism, blind nationalism of the people, stick with the regime, stick with the government. That's what they wanted me to play that role. But I deny. That almost immediately when I finished the reports to the British consulate, what happened to them, what happened to me as well, then I left. And I didn't even tell to my family members, say I never ever could come back. No, it just pretend as usual. I just try to spend the last few days with my family members. I understand that maybe a last few days for the rest of my life to be with them, but I can't speak it out because they're too old to take that. They're too old to understand the complexity of the matter. I have a last dinner with them, and suddenly I took the flight to Taiwan. And I say goodbye. And that's it. And I cut ties with my family. I felt that's about the time I need to talk with the BBC. That is about the time that I publicly broke the promise with the state security police in mainland China to say, look, I speak out. I spoke out, then next date, my confession videotapes have been broadcasted by the state media from Beijing in the UK, around the world. So for now, I'm an activist, full-time activist, because I'm very, very hard to go back to normality. And that's why now I set up an NGO. I set up a non-profit organization. I try to solidify Hong Kongers in the UK, name Hong Kongers in Britain. On August 2020, I have been reportedly on the want list by the Hong Kong National Security Police. So I understand that they keep hunting me down. And even it's not safe, even in the UK, I think that it's not one-off. Because they claim the state security law from Hong Kong could operate globally, regardless what kind of nationalities you're holding. So that is almost always the risk to me. From the very beginning, why they tried to detain me, and until now becoming a frontline advocate for democracy, put on the want list, because what my advocacy, because just simply because I speak out the truth.